the regret itself can be so much worse than the actions and decisions that you regret. Someone wrote to me last week about struggling with regrets and saying they can't let go of decisions they've made in the past, choices and decisions they've made in the past. And I know those feelings well. There were so many decisions and choices that I made in my life that if I were to go back now, with the knowledge that I have now, I would definitely make very different choices. And there's, of course, everything I now know about brain and the techniques that we now use and teach that I so wish that I'd found when I was much, much younger, of course. But here's the main point about regret. Regret is useful in passing, and it's only useful in passing as a gauge for future reference, for future choices. So in other words, to make a note for yourself of what you'll do differently next time. Beyond that, regret is not only not useful, it can be very damaging. And the regret itself can be so much worse than the actions and decisions that you regret. So it can be worse than the regret itself can be worse than the things you regret. So although we can't physically go back in time and do things differently now, we have no power to do that. We do have the power to choose what we do with the regret now. That is within our power right now, even though it doesn't feel like it sometimes. So why is it so difficult and sometimes even impossible to take our focus off the events of the past, over which we have absolutely no power right now, and focus instead on the things we do have power over, so that we can at least make the most of what we do have moving forward? Well, here's why that's so difficult, if not impossible at times. The unconscious part of the brain automatically and without our conscious engagement or even awareness fixates on the so-called danger. And this is because the top priority for that unconscious part of the brain is survival. So it doesn't matter what we consciously want or don't want, or what we logically think. To the unconscious part of the brain, if you take your focus off tiger to look at the pretty flowers, you'll die. And since the unconscious part of the brain can't tell the difference between reality and imagination, can't use logic or reason, and can't judge something as unrealistic, even though the things that we regret from the past aren't actual tigers, it's not real physical danger, the chemicals that are produced as we think of those things are the same chemicals, including adrenaline and cortisol, that are produced when our lives actually are in danger. So it creates the same physiological state, same state of emergency. So this means that as you think about whatever it is you regret in your past, while you consciously know that's in the past and I wish I'd done it differently, the unconscious part of your brain is in real time pumping stress chemicals into your system and putting your brain and your body into that fight, freeze, flight emergency state, as if your life is in danger. So that's why it's so difficult to let those things go. The unconscious part of your brain doesn't have the ability to determine the difference between the past and now. Everything's happening right now. And as far as that part of your brain is concerned, you are in physical danger right now. And that's why it's so difficult to come out of that state and focus on anything positive. And the longer you stay in that state, the more fixated your brain becomes on that so-called danger. So if you think of the unconscious part of your brain as a dog, a guard dog, and your conscious mind is you, the dog's owner. And as soon as the dog notices a sound outside the front door, he runs to the door and starts barking and barking and barking at the door. The dog thinks there's someone trying to come in, and he's alerting you to the danger, and he's also warning the intruder. Now, you can say to the dog, it's okay, it's just roadworks. They're just, they're working on the road outside, and it sounds loud and dangerous, but it's not anything dangerous. It's just people working on the road. But of course, the dog has no ability to understand what you're saying. So that won't make the dog stop barking and take his focus off the door. So he won't take his focus off the door until either the noise stops and whatever was making the noise has definitely gone, or you are able to call the dog away and distract him with a toy or a treat or whatever. And at first, that may be difficult, depending on how excited he's already got by that point. So if he's only just started barking, it would probably be easier to distract him because he won't be as agitated yet. The longer he's been barking, the higher the level of emergency in him, the more difficult it will be to distract him. And if you didn't know that it's just roadworks, and you go and stand by the door, listening to the dog barking and listening to the loud noises outside and feeling frightened and kind of buying into that situation, then of course, the dog's never going to stop barking. And the two of you are just going to stay in that state. In the same way, as your mind focuses on the regret, that's your brain recognizing so-called danger, which is the dog hearing a noise. The truth is, whatever you regret is not a threat to your life in this moment. And there's nothing you can do to change it right now. So continuing to focus on it is basically joining your dog at the front door and feeling the fear as he barks at a harmless noise. Focusing on the regret is not going to change the results. It's not going to magically undo whatever happened. But what it does do is it holds you back and it keeps you stuck in that state, and it robs you of the potential you have for more enjoyable experiences now moving forward. So it's important to remember that you've always done the best you could in each moment of your life with the unconscious childhood references, the unconscious beliefs that form your self-image and worldview that you had at that time. So the choice you have now is, one, continue to focus on what you regret and what should have been and how things could have been different and so on. In other words, continue to pump stress chemicals into your system in real time and stay stuck. And that's okay. That's, you are the boss of you. So you get to do that if that's what you choose. And there's no right or wrong. It's just cause and effect. Or you can make the decision, do the best you can with what you do have now moving forward. In other words, you're currently holding a hand of cards that you've been dealt, playing cards that you've been dealt. And you can either focus on the fact that you wish you'd been dealt different cards and you should have had different cards, and then not play the game because that's what you're doing. You're not actually making any moves. Or you can use your strategic thinking to work out, okay, well, what would be the best move using these cards that I do have? And then you can enjoy playing the game. One way or another, while you have no control over your past choices anymore, you are in every moment choosing your experience in this moment and moving forward by where you're putting your focus in this moment. So your power is in where you put your focus right now. So you can choose to use the 2-minute brain chemistry exercise. I'll put a link to that in the description of this video. And change your negative implicit childhood memories and practice the new ones. Again, I'll put a link to that in the description of this video as well, and use the other techniques we teach to develop your own empowerment and empower yourself now. And again, I'll put all those links in the description of this video. And as you bring the stress chemicals down using these techniques and start producing feel-good chemicals, you'll bring the prefrontal cortex of your brain back online, giving yourself access to your cognitive thinking, which means you'll be able to see things differently. You'll be able to notice different opportunities, come up with different solutions you couldn't have seen while you had no access to that part of your brain because of the stress chemicals in your system. You'll be more creative, more inspired, more motivated, and all of that will lead you forward to different results now instead of staying stuck in the past.